right, we got started here in a little bit, and we are recording this session. First of all, my name is Leo with the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Vice President in the area, right, of Fairfield, Sassoon, and Rio Vista. So if you need any type of, if you have anything related that you would like to talk about these regions, let me know. And even if you're in Solano County, you have things related within the Solano County, please let me know as I can direct you to the right person as well if needed. So we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes here to get started early. Started the meeting early, but welcome for those of you that are joining the meeting. And again, we're gonna get started here real soon. I'm gonna be sharing my screen. But today, as I mentioned, right, we're gonna be talking about doing a recap of some of the things that. So we're gonna be doing a recap of some of the things that we learned, right? Some of the board members of the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and members of the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce had the opportunity on March 13th to visit the state capitol. And this was put together by the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, right, is part of the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which is a chamber of commerce statewide to help the other local chambers and sort of be the advocate for the local chambers. So they, because of that, they do have resources to have, you know, to be able to advocate for local chambers and the communities in the state of California at the state level. And one of the things that they were able to do is put this thing together, right? A legislation day, what they call it, to be able to bring other chambers and their members to learn what sort of bills are coming up for elections in 2020 that as business owners and part of the communities within the California state, we should look out for. Now, obviously, is your own judgment, or is everyone's own responsibility to do our own research. So be mindful. Anything that little disclaimer, right? Everything that we're going to be discussing today is just information purpose only, right? And I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer, anything like that. So don't hold me accountable for any of the information I'm going to share. And as I mentioned before, the first half hour we're going to do it in English, and the second half hour we're going to do it in Spanish. So let's go ahead and dive in. So as I mentioned, right, on March 13, board members from the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and some of the members went and visited, attended to a business policy summit that the California Hispanic Chamber put together, where we got to learn about some of the bills coming up and some other things are coming up that may affect our small businesses and our community. First of all, it was I can provide to you this document that the California Hispanic Chamber put together to recap what sort of things were discussed, right? But also tells you a little bit about the California Hispanic Chamber history and mission, the business profile, right? And some of the legislative priorities in 2019, some of the things that they've been working with, and some of the things that you'll see why they will be favoring some of the bills, right? Because if they favor some of the bills, this is because more than likely matches to one of these legislation's priorities that they have, or legislative priorities that they have. Now, that doesn't mean that because they agree or approve or support any of the bills that we, as the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we support. No, it doesn't mean that. They just basically have the infrastructure to be able to put lobbyists, right, state capital, and be aware of what's coming up that may affect small businesses in our Hispanic community. But at the same time, doesn't mean that we as a local Solana Hispanic Chamber of Commerce may approve it. All it is just basic information, right? Our community may be different to what other communities may be reporting to at the California state level, Hispanic Chamber, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that we here in Southern County may feel affected or may, I don't want to say care, right? But may not feel the same impact. We might have other priorities within the county. But that said, I'm going to provide the summary of the bill listing that they provided. And this is, by the way, something again that I can provide to you. But there are, I believe they said there are over 2,000 bills that are coming up for the next election. So how, imagine you as a small business owners, how are you going to keep up with everything that is going to come up? Obviously, not everything is going to be put up for election. But again, us as business owners will be able to, it's still good to research, okay, what kind of bills are coming up? Because if we are able to stop it on time and stop it from even going to the ballots, right? That's as it increases the chances for something not going through, if it's something that really is going to affect our community. So let's go through those, see what stands out for you. Again, this is just a small list. There's over 2,000 something bills. So there may be a way other stuff that may affect you personally that was not included. There's this website, legislature.legislature.ca.gov, that you can go and see what kind of bills. You can find it by bill numbers, and I'm not sure how other ways to find it, right? But if you know of a bill that's coming up, you can look it up this way. Another way to get to this site is perhaps you can Google Bills California and make sure it's a state website, right? If it has .ca.gov, it's a government website and it's a state website, right? California. So you may want to do that. Something else I would recommend you to do is obviously look at your local elected officials, right? That helps us, that serve us at state level. So we may want to check at the city level what things are coming up by attending our town meetings. But for example, in Fairfield, I can go to Assemblyman Jim Fraser, and they're in his website. They do have a list of bills that Assemblyman Jim Fraser is supporting. So that's something, that's other resources that we can do. Either visit their website or request a meeting with some of their staff to learn about what bills their Assemblyman Jim Fraser is supporting, and perhaps you do your assessment if that's something that's going to affect you, right? As is your right to find out and perhaps go further with that, right? Either find a way to see if the bills can be stopped. Obviously, if they're being signed, go to the next step. Then obviously it's just more about educating, creating awareness in the community why that possible bill may affect if it comes into the ballot to become law if it gets passed into in the elections. So let's go ahead and review some of this that I can remember based on some of the notes that I took. So working status independent contractors. This is not too clear for me yet, but basically there's a current law that got established, I can't remember, it says over here 2018. There's a current law that creates presumption that a worker who performs services for a hire is an employee. current law requires a three-part test, commonly known as the ABC test, to establish that a worker is independent contractor. So I don't know what this is. The current law requires a three-part test, but what I can remember from this is that this could affect, or this is affecting, those organizations, companies that hires contractors to do some of their work. Now, what it affects you as a business owner is if that contractor performs some of the work that your organization is supposed to do anyways. Like, let's say I have a hair salon and I have hairstylists that are contractors, that, right, they just rent a chair. That's basically what this law could be affecting. This law could be affecting, right, that person, that, because obviously hair salon purposes is to cut hair. Where's the fine line there that tell us, okay, yeah, that's against the law, or yeah, you within the law, right? That you hire where somebody is renting a chair, right? Renting a chair to do hair is obviously within the similar functions, right, that the hair salon offers, similar services. Another example, I remember I was attending to a human resources specialist talking about this law, right? That how we need to carefully study this law. We don't want, lawyers with bad intention coming in and suing, because it happens all the time. So we gotta be aware within our own business what's coming up. And I know as a small business we are really busy, but even myself, right? I'm sure there's things that I'm leaving out there that I should be aware that I'm not being protected. But again, that's why we're reviewing some of this stuff, right? So that's what the current law says, right? I didn't finish the story that perhaps let's say we have a human resources a consulting firm, and let's say that they bring every now and then consultants, human resource consultants for a project, right, as a contractor. Well, again, it comes with a question: should that human resources consultants come in as an employee instead for that project, simply because, again, this law may because they may be violating this law. So that's what the law sort of, I understood, that could affect. And I know there's tons of places, for example, they still, hair salons is still with the share. So I may not be interpreting the law right, but that's just the idea that came into my mind. But definitely don't, again, this is not I'm not an expert in law. If we have any experts out there in our community, right, within Sonoma County, please use this platform to educate us, and I'll be more than happy to set up a further discussions and calls with you to share with our community. Now, in reference to the bill is just says basically, right, the bill will state the intent of the legislature to include provisions within this bill, will codify the decision in Dynamics case and clarify its application. And I went and look at this bill and that website that I show you, and it's still not very clear to me what exactly the bill is supposed to do, how it's supposed to clarify the application of this law. So maybe I didn't navigate all of the different sections to learn fully about the bill, what bills intend to do with this law, right? So, but definitely, with the position of the California Chamber is to watch it. My personal position, of course, will be to watch it and get closely what's coming up. There's this AB 13, Education, Finance, Higher Education. I don't remember anybody talking about this, but I do remember within the panels, I remember there was somebody from the staff of Governor Newsom, right? And I remember some of the things that a lot of the people in the panel, like I remember was Controller Yee in there. Oh, by the way, let me just show you real quick some of the panelists. And that's included here so that if you want to receive a copy of this, please let us know. You definitely can. learn some of the stuff that we review. So controller Betty Yee, she was there. Alex Padilla, was it Alex Padilla? No, Javier. I think it was Alex Padilla, the one that I attended as well as part of the. I know this is Secretary of State. So Gavin Newsom, of course. We had Board of Equalization District 3, Tony Vasquez. More on the Southern California area where he serves. Where's the panelists? I remember seeing something about a panelist list. So this is just basically elected officials. Okay, so we had Bob, we have Controller Betty Yee, Tony Vasquez, right, voice chair of the Board of Equalization. Here is Che Salinas, right, Chief Deputy of Legislative Affairs Secretary for Operations for Governor Newsom. We had somebody from JFK University. Then we have Eric McGee, Research Fellow, Public Policy Institute. And this panel, we're talking more about the census. But in all of the three panels, so there was 3 panels, right? These panels that I mentioned to you with Controller Jim Betty G and the representative from Governor Gavin Newsom, they were talking about the bill, some of the things that the Orange Office has coming up. But all of the panels, there were 3 different panels. All of the panels were really talking about education and educator community, so that our employees have much better employers to deal with, right? The employers are educated, and that's fine, right? I agree with being educated, not educated in the sense of just going to school, right? There's so many ways to get your education. There's a street education, right? You can volunteer for organizations, etc. So there's so many ways. Anyways, I want to go back to what this one says. It says it will enact the Higher Education Facility Bond Act of 2020, which, upon approval by the state of electorate, will authorize the issuance of the state general obligation bonds in the total of $7 billion. The proceeds of the bonds issued and sold under the bill will be available for the construction, reconstructions, and remodeling of existing or new facilities, as specified at the University of California. So basically, right, I understand from this bill, and I don't remember them discussing this further. However, reinforcing their support with education, but all this money towards the infrastructure of our outdated education system or outdated universities, I don't know if I agree with that. They're supported. Now, if universities doesn't do something in regards to how outdated the education system is, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, right? Don't take the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce into this or the California. This is just my personal opinion that me as a graduate and getting in so much debt, I don't see the value that I got from going to my, going through university and getting my bachelor degrees. I don't see the value. So if nothing changes to where the education system has to be updated, right? Like whatever it's taught in the university has to be practical for the workforce, right? It has to be taught by people that are actually practicing, and they have to be practitioner on whatever it is that they're teaching. That's just my personal opinion. Plus, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of stuff that I'm being taught because it's so hard to keep update their curriculum, right? There's so many stuff that are dated, right? How are you gonna keep up with technology? Things that are not related to technology, like, I don't know, the basic of medicine, the basic of law, things like that. This definitely makes sense to go to school, but there's so many other programs that we gotta watch out for that may not be. However, the infrastructure, renovating the infrastructure, that's great. We're always looking for even here within the county, a lot of the business owners that I talk to is, I want to provide workshop, but finding a location is always a struggle for what I hear for most business owners that would like to educate their community, their customers on their services or products, all other stuff that they may specialize on. So in regards to infrastructure, I guess that could be fine. I still need to understand better where the money's gonna come from. That. However, if the infrastructure is used properly, right, to continue using with our data education system, in my opinion, uh, you know, teachers that are not practitioners on what they teach, some instances are the ones that are teaching where other person that has been a practitioner in the street and the job may know much more about that professor, teacher. This AB 138, I don't remember this. You can read it if you want to, but we got about 10 minutes left before my Spanish version. What else? Employment sexual harassment liability. So if you are an employer, maybe you want to check this one out, right? It will require a client employer to share with the labor contractor all civil legal responsibility and civil liability for harassment for all workers supplied by that labor contractor. And this one as well, right? Employment sexual harassment. These two I don't remember being discussed, but I was finding interesting. So you as an employer, maybe you want to make your own determination. So this one will prohibit an employer from discharging or in any manner discriminating or retaliating against an employee because of the employee status as a victim of sexual harassment, as defined by the California Fair Employment and Housing Act. The bill will establish a reputable presumption of unlawful retaliation based on the employee's status as a victim of domestic violence. So again, if that's something that may concern you, go ahead and get the summary that I can provide to you if you want, and you can go to the bills section, see if this is something that you can read more about it, learn more about it, go to your local elected officials, see who's supporting this, and try to find out why, and make your own research if you think that's something that perhaps could affect you. This one I remember, bringing civilian action pursuant to specify product for violation of a provision of a labor code that provides for a civil. The Labor Code Private Attorneys General Act of 2004. Current law, the Labor Code Private Attorneys General Act of 2004 permits an aggrieved employee on behalf of themselves and other current or former employees to bring a civil action pursuant to specified procedures for a violation of provision of the Labor Code that provides for civil penalty to be assessed and collected by Labor and Workforce Development Agency. This bill will make non-substantive changes of this provision. So it doesn't specify what the changes will be, at least in this summary. Perhaps we need to, but what I understand from this is the current law, right, is what permits any employee to go and take get a lawyer to represent them against the employee if they feel that they were mistreated or something. I don't know what specifically to, right, but anything that may violate the labor code. Me as an employee, for example, the current law allows me to go get a lawyer to go get. This is what I understand from it. This is my interpretation. But that's the current law, and then I don't know. It doesn't say here what the bill is going to do, but that's that. Consumer loans, I don't remember that. Employee sick leave. On the current law, an employee who works in California for 30 more days within a year from the commencement of employment is entitled to pay sick days for center purpose. As specified, this bill will make. So I don't know what that means. This bill will make non-substantive changes to these provisions. All right, sugar sweetened beverage. I remember this one being discussed. Current law establishes the State Department of Public Health, which administrate, among other things, various programs that prevent disease and promote health. The bill will state the intent of legislature to support prevalence of link between obesity, diabetes, dental disease, and heart disease. Come on. Sorry, I just got my wife here. Need to get something. So I remember some of the things being discussed by somebody representing the beverage association, how some small businesses, grocery could be affected by some of these bills coming up. Right, one, I think it says no marketing can be done, right, to offer if there's sugar sweetened beverages. I remember other ones. Let's see. This one says this bill will state the intent of the legislature to support evidence of the link between obesity, diabetes, dental disease, and heart disease, and the consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages by enacting legislation to restrict beverages company from offering and funding promotional and marketing activities for. So, I mean, I'm all pro health, right? Especially for kids or small businesses. Obviously, that small groceries they will pay marketing campaign. Obviously cannot do that. I believe the current law. The bill, I think, what they want to do is, well, actually, the bill what it wants to do is restrict, right, beverages company from offering support to a small businesses, right? Anything that helps them promote and market their drinks, right? So, for example, Pepsi or Coca-Cola, and I go to a small grocery store, I cannot come and tell them, hey, look, I give you this money specifically to help you promote and market the product that we give you, the Pepsis and the Coca-Cola. As a small business owners, that may offer this type of drinks, it's your own call to see if it hurts you or not. I mean, I'm all pro health, but I don't think that that's what's going to allow me to control what my kids cannot and cannot drink, right? As a parent, I and my wife are the ones that have a bigger influence, right, to whatever marketing campaign, to be able to do our best to educate them and see how we can raise our kids, not let some laws in the government determine what they can or cannot do to to prevent my kids from watching or be exposed to marketing materials. I think that's just the interpretation for each parent, like what they should do, right? But again, we gotta see how this could affect our small business owners. I don't think the government should be the one determining what and what not should be advertised, right? Especially for drinks. That's not gonna stop anything. Companies will find another way to promote their drinks, especially big companies. If it's just stopping our small local community from getting funding, then obviously that could be something that could impact them, right? There was another one about unsealed beverage container portion cap. So we'll prohibit adulterant from selling, offering for sale, or otherwise providing to a consumer an unsealed beverage container as defined that is able to contain more than 16 fluid ounces. Okay, that will prohibit a grocery store from selling the big gulps, like they call it, right? That's what the bill is saying. The bill will define retailers to mean any person, firm, corporation, or business that sells, offer for sale, or otherwise provide sugar-sweetened beverages to a consumer. This bill will make a violation of this prohibition punishable as infraction or civil penalty in action brought by Attorney General or District Attorney General, County Council, or City. Anyways, right, again, the government being the one that decides what I cannot buy. Not sure how you want to see that, right? Yes, there's always there's you might see it as good as becoming as having a law that will stop from selling that anymore, because as we know, we have people that cannot control from consuming, and they're just consuming until self-destruction. But again, comes in all that. You know, should we really, if they want to continue to consume to self-destruction, should we really stop them? But then again, this other cycle starts, right? They are consuming to self-destruction, but then all of the cycle is more money spent into their health care, where I guess more money should be going to more of education about our health, or what's the word I'm looking for? Promoting, right, health, promoting natural choices or healthier choices. What incentives can be provided to, so right, going back to the core of the issues as opposed to just putting a patch. This is what I see, that this is just putting a patch to a problem that 16 ounces drinks, okay, they still can, nothing stop them from going to the store, buy 2 liters and make their own cups, right? Nothing stopping from that. So this is just a patch, this bill over here. That's not gonna fix the problem for health. That's just my personal opinion again, okay? Why not get funding to actually promote health and wellness activities, incentivize people, right, from choosing healthy choices, etc. So that's, again, just my personal opinion. I believe those are all the ones that I can remember. I didn't cover what it was talk about the census a little briefly, right? There was big conversation about the census coming up in 2020. It's just basically making sure that we are aware that census is it's a law to participate in the census. I cannot remember the penalty fees for not participating, but obviously, right, being the Hispanic community, we understand that there are big gaps, the language, the fear, right, that a lot of our community has from participating in the census, especially because I believe one of the questions coming up indicates, if ask you if you indicate if you are a citizen or not. You can imagine how that's going to impact a non-immigrant family, right, that still don't have the legal status. What's the word I'm looking for? That don't have a legal status, right? A lawful legal status. So again, that was just a brief of the census 2020 coming up, and they talk about how the information about the census is being spread out, so the community is aware. I believe some of this stuff in the census will be electronically. People will be able to go and participate in an electronic manner. But we understand they understand there are rural communities where they're still going to deploy people, right, to do the census. Also, some of the things that the California Hispanic Chamber trying to do is get funding so that the local chambers are able to help as well in the census, right, in some way. Also, reminder that the census, that I don't know, I don't remember where, but you can work for the census if you are open to work for them, where you're gonna be you can be one of the persons that go out and do the census, right? Do this, ask questions, and there are high paid jobs. I understand the concern of people, but if you are definitely in a position that can use the money, it's definitely a good opportunity to participate in the census as well, if you know somebody that may be needing to work. So that's it for the first half hour to do it in Spanish. I'm going to go ahead and stop the presentation for a moment, and I'm not sure if we have any let's see, and then we start one in Spanish. So let me